Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. The record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
The record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orit Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record, whether you're listening here in the Cayman Islands or you're listening in Queens, New York, Tampa, Florida, Miami, Florida, London, England, Archangel, Russia. Welcome to For the Record. Of course, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared specifically for you, our listening audience. It is geared to keep you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international. I am your host, Orit Connor, and today, of course, is Friday, the 5th of June 2015. And as someone said to me yesterday, the year is just going by so quickly. I want to remind you that our phone lines are always open, and of course you're welcome to join me on For the Record every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. Our phone lines, courtesy of Lime, we have a toll-free number which is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. And of course, if you don't like to talk on the telephone, you can then email me at fortherecord, that is one word, fortherecord at candw.ky. This morning I have in the studio with us Mr. Steve McFeel, prominent local attorney, and Mr. Chris Saunders, the other half of the McFeel-Saunders show on Friday morning. This morning we're going to be going on the offensive. We're going to be defending the Cayman Islands. We're going to be defending the people of the Cayman Islands. And if some of you feel offended by it this morning, I'm going to start to apologize from now, but we're going to hit hard. It is time in the Cayman Islands that Caymanians stand up for what we believe in. We believe in the Cayman Islands. We believe in Cayman. Cayman Islands is are first and foremost for us. Anyone else here are here as a result of our gratitude, as a result of our benevolence. You may say that you're here because you want to help the Cayman Islands. You must add to that, yes, maybe you want to help the Cayman Islands, but you also want to help yourself as well. So this show today is going to be dedicated to standing up for Caymanians. First, what we're going to start with, but before that, let me say good morning and welcome to Mr. McFeel and Mr. Christopher Saunders.
Good morning,
gentlemen.
Mr. Connor, For the Record. It's always good to be with you on Friday morning and with Chris. I look forward to my call on Thursday evening. It reminds me of an election in England. You know, those senior members of the party who are looking to become ministers, they sit by their phone all night and wait till the phone rings, and then the premier says, come down to 10 Downing Street. You know that you are going to be become a member of the cabinet. So whenever you call, I'm always here to see if I'm going to become a member of your cabinet on Friday morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. It's great to be here again. I was here on Wednesday, and I had to report that I got a 6 love the Tuesday night. Well, I can report that I dropped one back last night, so I'm even for the week. But it's always good to be here, and I mean, I really enjoy the show. I enjoy the feedback from the public. I Love listening to Steve, like listening to OCN. Some of the many callers too, you have kind of grown on you to some extent where you're getting used to certain people calling now too. So you actually look forward to the call. So it's good to be back.
And it's good to have you gentlemen here as well. First of all, I'm going to go to the Compass headline: Acting Fire Chief arrested in hit and run. Photograph splashed all over the cover of the Caymanian Compass. Another opportunity for them to, to smear or to put a Caymanian in a bad light. How many expatriates have been arrested for all and sundry? Sometimes you see the names not being called. We hear sometimes of convictions where the names haven't been called. But again, another opportunity to splash the face of a Caymanian and the front pages of the newspaper. They talk about renaming the compass and calling it the Cayman Compass from the Caymanian Compass. I am not sure. I am really in doubt as to what is Caymanian about it. Secondly, the editorial, 3rd of June, Wednesday, 3rd of June 2015. Corruption and insidious creeping crime. Make no bones about it, folks. We abhor corruption. We speak about it here in the Cayman Islands. But again, this editorial, in trying to paint the Cayman Islands as being corrupt, and I again will try to paraphrase what MLA Ard McLean says in terms of what's his phrase again? You know, or how does it go, Mr. Matthew?
You know our glory, but you don't know our story.
Yeah, and a lot of them do not know our story, and our story in the Cayman Islands is almost becoming reminiscent, quite similar to what happened to our forefathers in the vast, rich continent of Africa. When they came with their Bibles, they converted them, or attempted to convert them, and they took all of their riches. There was a time in the Cayman Islands when we still do it to a certain extent, and we suffer as a result of it, when we hold out ourselves, open arms, welcoming you with open arms, and then what do when you get here? You stab us in the back. One of the things I'm going to talk about today, and I am made to understand that the Premier will be addressing this editorial in the Legislative Assembly and Finance Committee this morning as well. He will be making a statement to this because several people called me and told me about this editorial. I hadn't read it at the time. Several people called me and told me about it, and so the Premier is going to be making a statement in the LA this morning. I encourage you to listen to it. If it means that you need to take your break early on your job, take the opportunity to listen. It will be carried live on Radio Cayman 105.3 FM Breeze to listen to his statement this morning, because it is time for us to stand up and defend the Cayman Islands, defend our people, defend our indigenous Caymanians. And the reason I'm going to use that word indigenous was because someone was relating a story to me the other day, about an individual that they were talking to, and the individual was referring to the FIFA situation and say, what is wrong with the Caymanians? What is wrong, with the Caymanians now? And the person said to them, well, aren't you Caymanian? Aren't you talking about yourself when you're talking about Caymanians, because didn't you obtain Caymanian status? And the person said, oh, no, but I'm talking about the indigenous Caymanians. So when it comes to separating us because someone has done something wrong, then Caymanian and Caymanian status doesn't mean the same thing. Caymanian means indigenous, and Caymanian status holder is someone else. Well, if you want to think of it that way, then maybe we should still continue to classify status holders and Caymanians as different. Because remember now, there are other countries that make a distinction in relation to that. In the United States, for instance, you may get a state job as a green card holder, as an alien. You will not get a federal job unless you are a U.S. citizen. So, do you want us to start making the distinctions here in the Cayman Islands like some of you are making as well? Folks, I told you this morning it's going to be, this is going to be a rough show this morning, so don't say I didn't warn you. Gentlemen, give you all the chance to comment now. I've had my say for now.
Well, see, what bothers me is this front page story with the acting fire chief on a charge, on an arrest. He's not charged with anything. He hasn't been charged with an offense. And moreover, it seems to me that these things are allegedly to have happened all the way in January, some 6 months ago. And to me, is that a coincidence? And that he's one of the people vying for the job as the permanent position for the fire chief in the country. OC, they say where there's smoke, there's fire. And I wonder just why have they waited until June now to be able to arrest him on suspicion? Because you think by now they would have had all of the evidence and he would be arrested and charged, but he's arrested on suspicion. But OC, the premier said something. They made a statement the other day that he was would not be in favor of anyone other than a Caymanian to have the job as fire chief. I applaud the premier for saying that, but the premier has to go a little further. He has to go further because we have precedents in our constitution for jobs for Caymanians. We have the job for Caymanians for deputy governor. And the Constitution says only a Caymanian can be the deputy governor of the Cayman Islands. But you see, it was someone from London that put that in, and we accepted that. Now, we also have Section 16. I keep saying about that all the time. Maybe people are tired of hearing me talking about Section 16. But Section 16 of the Constitution says that you can pass a law to say that a job has to be for a Caymanian. Mm-hmm. And instead of making a statement saying that he would not be in favor of anyone else beside the Cayman getting the job, the premier needs to take legislation down to the legislature now, amendment to the fire department law or whatever law it is, and say only a Caymanian is going to have this job, and the legislature is now in session. He doesn't have to wait 6 months to do this. He can do this now, and he can go down and he can do that before it gets out of hand. Let me relate to you, OC, an incident. Several years ago, when I was on the board, on the airport authority board, we were called to the Governor Jack's office. The whole board was called to Governor Jack's office. We were given a manual to read. We hadn't seen it before, and when we read it, we realized that some 9 months before that appointment, an airplane was taking off. Airplane was supposed to take off at the airport, and when the person who was supposed to sign the flight plan wouldn't sign the flight plan because he said that they had smelled alcohol in the pilot's breath, and she refused to sign the flight plan. They called Carrot McCoy, who was our chief security officer at the airport, down to the general terminal to investigate the matter. And Carrot went down there, and Carrot told them that, this is not my purview. I am the chief security at the airport. This is an international flight, and therefore it's a civil aviation's purview. Well, things escalated, and then the police was called. I can't remember, where they were from, but I know they were not Caymanian police, and they had words with Carrot, and Kerry told him it wasn't his jurisdiction to stop the plane from flying or to tell the plane to go. And eventually, I think the co-pilot was the one who was able to sign the flight plan, and the plane took off. Out of that incident came a report by the police officers to the then commissioner of police. The commissioner of police then took statements from his men and sent it to the attorney general, seeking to find a way to prosecute Kerry for obstructing the police and so forth. And the attorney general rightly said that Kerry had committed no offense, and it was that incident that the governor called us his office, Governor Stuart Jack. Now the minister at that time was Mr. Clifford Chucky, and I remember that morning Chucky told him, Governor, we have been running the airport over 50 years, and we were not doing anything to harm the airport, and so forth. And the governor says, I want Kerry to be fired. I want him to go. He has to go, because even if he had no legal right, he had a moral duty to stop the flight from going. And we said, well, we don't have any moral right. We are a statutory body, and we have to operate under the law. And on that board that day, there were some people who were very weak and wanted to get rid of Kerry. But anyway, I was one of those who stood up and said, I'm not going to acquiesce to this. And if you fire him, I am going to leave the board and take the board to court for acting ultra vires. But what we did, we moved Kerry laterally, and we brought in Scotland from the police department to be chief officer.
Is there any wonder why we ended up with tempura? If it's Jack's attitude?
Yes. And another incident happened when we were separating the civil aviation into and Gilbert, it was Minister Gilbert McLean at that time, who brought in the airport authority. Now it was an authority now, not central government, and we understood that in the glass house they were interviewing people for the job as chief officer of the civil aviation. And when we heard it, we quickly the board got together, and we had a private meeting downtown in a boardroom, and we appointed the first Caymanian to that job. And thank God the Cayman is in that position today. I just do not understand, Ms. Orrit. Where are the Captain Reeds? Where are Mr. Ormond Pantons? Where are the Jim Bordens? Where are the Doc Roy McTaggarts? Where are the Will of Farringtons? Where are the Captain Keep Tibbets? Where are all those kind of men today? It seems to me that all we are interested in greed and grudge.
We have to stop trying to be politically correct. We have one caller online. Paul, you want to go to the break first and ask the caller to hold? Folks, I want to remind you that you're listening to For the Record. I'm your host, Art Connor. Maybe not after today, but at least today I'm your host. Yes. We have one caller online. We're going to ask that caller to remain extremely patient. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll take that call. And then, of course, you haven't heard from Chris Saunders yet, so please stay tuned. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I'm going to dispense with most of the introductions this morning. I don't want to waste too many words because we want to really, really get to the meat of things this morning. So we're going to go straight to the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Mr. Connor, how are you this morning, sir?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
Well, I'll tell you when I take two questions or a comment. Mr. Markfield, how are you, sir?
I'm fine.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Chris?
Morning, bro.
I know you're always fine. Mr. Connor.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if we can get another job for you too, because like what you said, you might be there after today. Well, I stopped calling the other show. But anyhow, I got two things and I'd like your panel, see if you can answer them for me. I'm going to say and then I'll hang up and then you can all answer me.
Okay.
Last year, or it might be year before last, a plane crashed in Cayman. We heard people came down from the UK, but we never heard no more about it. That's one. I want to find out what's going on with that.
That was the one where they found the money and stuff like that on board the aircraft?
Yes, so that's that one. Next one. I had an old-time experience last week. Sunday, I think it was. Someone asked me to take them to a certain place to do an interview, a big place, hotel in fact, put it that way. I'm not going to call the name. which I would, but anyhow, I know what's happening when you call names. But the person asked me to take them down to this hotel because they had to get an interview. Now, the person speaks fluent English and fluent Spanish. When they went for the interview, the person that done the interview could not speak English properly. Very poor, in fact, very, very poor. So the person that was being interviewed said to the one that was doing the interview, "Can I speak in your language so I would understand you better?" She said, no, the rule is I have to interview you in English. So the person said real quickly in Spanish, I do not understand what you're saying in English, so wouldn't it be better for me to speak in your language although? And she said, no. Now, that's the kind of thing that we have to go through here in Cayman. Now, this person is a Caymanian that is being interviewed, but it's someone from another Spanish country that is doing the interview, and they cannot speak English properly. The last one is the Labor Department really isn't doing anything at all for the Caymanian people. It is very bad. Every day I go to a certain place, and every day that I go there, I see a different face, 2 or 3 different faces. Right now I'm sitting at a place and I'm watching the people that is going to work there, and I count 2 Caymanians in 14 expats. They got it. The government needs to do something about the HR departments in the Cayman Islands. They are just running the people around to say that, well, we did an interview, but we don't hear anymore.
Government needs to clean up its own house first before it gets out there and to clean up the private sector. Government I don't know if you got an opportunity to listen last night or yesterday evening to Finance Committee, and when personnel, the chief officer in Minister Tibbett's ministry, as well as persons from the Lands and Survey Department were in there. If you get an opportunity, listen to that. But I'll be talking about that today, as well, because that was a huge episode in there in relation to the employment and the contract for the chief surveyor in registrar of lands in the Cayman Islands. We're going to be talking about that. So government has to get its own house in order first before they can dictate to the private sector what should be done. But
I don't miss his that in the afternoon, which last night I had to cut some of it off because it really hurt me. And I'm an uneducated person, but what I see in this island, like Mr. Mark P said just now, where's the almond patterns? Where's this one? Where's that one? Cayman don't have no more men, I'm sorry. My testicles were cut out several years ago. Even me now, that's all I can do. But there ain't no men in Cayman to stand up because
Chris can be talking about that too soon.
The foreign people is coming and taking us over, and we can't say nothing. They're pushing us in the back.
Yeah. Okay.
And what's going to happen? It's only getting worse.
Yeah. Well, caller, you continue to listen.
Interviews, and they call yet. They never call them back. They don't even have the manners to call them back.
Well, you continue to listen because we're gonna give it a shot today. We're gonna give it a good shot in the arm today.
I hope you have a job on Monday.
Well, I'm not too worried about that because it's really not a job for me. It's something that I enjoy doing, and if at the end of the day, I can make a difference here behind this mic, then that's fine with me. Other than that, riding the bike is sufficient for me now in my old age. Chris, 4 minutes for you to have a little splurge, and then we're going to take a break at 1 minute before 8.
First of all, I need to thank Brother George for that call.
Certainly.
I want to correct him on one thing. He started out by saying that he's an uneducated person. And I want to take a little time out to give you the definition of education, which per dictionary.com. It is the act or process of imparting or acquiring general knowledge, developing the powers of reasoning and judgment, and generally of preparing oneself or others intellectually for mature life. Nothing in that definition spoke about going to university, college, or anything. And we need to understand that this Cayman success story, this glory that we're talking about, was technically built by people who people today would say is uneducated. I mean, shamefully as it is, I don't even think Sir Vassal could even get a job today in corporate Cayman with his resume. But look at what it is that he did. So we need to stop selling ourselves short, because the people who built this country and allow us to have the life and the lifestyle that we have today did so without that quote unquote going into university or college. So Brother George, I just want you to don't ever let me ever hear you talking about uneducated, and there's nothing talking about Caymanians being uneducated. The other thing, I mean, while I'm on just this train of thought, is also the use of the word unemployable. We like to talk about people in our society that is unemployable. How can someone be unemployable? You mean to tell me that there's not one thing out there somebody can do, whether it be wash dishes, cook food, or something? I mean, so we need to move away from these labeling, and this is why it is important. And you see a lot of it today now in the media, for example, where we're quick to label people, we're quick to put on these stuff. Oh, the young people lazy, the young people lazy, the young people lazy. Do that for 10 years, you have a 26, 30-year-old person that is still in their mind lazy, then we wonder why we have some of the problems we have today in our society. So it's very important for us to nip some of these things in the bud. Listening to OC's opening comment where he was talking about what had happened in Africa, I think Desmond Tutu summed it up best, where he said when the missionaries came to Africa, they had the Bible, we had the land, they said let us pray. And when they opened their eyes, we had the Bible and they had the land. So I think that's what it is, and we as Caymanians need to be very careful of that. The editorial, someone, I made a comment on my Facebook page about it. Someone did bring it to my attention, and the first thing out of my mouth was, well, you really wasted 50 cents. That's how I started it. But I read the editorial, and the one thing, I mean, my comment on Facebook page, which I have no problem repeating, is simply this. If you go to the Lands and Survey Department and you look up my block and parcel, you'll see a charge on the back of my land docs that basically said that I got a loan to build my house. And it even names the bank in which I got the loan from, so anyone can see where the proceeds of my money come from. And for someone to have the audacity and the temerity to talk about corruption when no one to this day still knows the source of funding to buy that business, you know what? He has a right to say what he says about us. You know why? Too many people have come into this country corrupt. Some of them have even changed their names. The pedophiles and all of them that we have been hearing about as the internet goes through, the amount of unscrupulous individuals that we have let into this country and that we have also made Caymanians, they have a right to say we're either corrupt, because either we're corrupt or we're fool. But something along the line, it needs to be dealt with. So before these, and I don't want another statement from the Premier. What I want now is action. We have a guy who's just run away. I mean, literally, I can't use the S word all over our people. You know what I mean? And the government is just nutless in dealing with it.
Folks, I want to remind you that you're listening to For the Record. I'm your host, Art Connor. My guest in the studio with me this morning, Mr. A. Steve McField, prominent local attorney, and Mr. Christopher Saunders. Of course, Friday is the McField Saunders show. So we're going to go to the news now. When we come back, we have lots more. We're going to dissect this editorial for what it's worth, because we want you to know what they have said in that editorial and what we agree with and what we don't agree with. So please stay tuned. We will be back after the news. Good morning and welcome back to the McField Saunders show, hosted by Art Connor. Show usually called For the Record. Again, I want to thank you for allowing us into your homes, into your places of work, into your vehicles as you traverse the roads of the Cayman Islands, those roads that were flooded only a few days now, but in many instances, the water has now receded. There may be some areas that are still flooded, and if they are, let us know about it. I spoke earlier, and we talked about the Compass's editorial by the editorial board of the Compass on the 3rd of June, 2015. Still don't know who comprises the editorial board of the Compass, but anyway, I guess that's like the ownership, question mark in terms of who really owns it and who controls it. The Premier's statement will be made at the beginning of Finance Committee. We're not sure what time Finance Committee is due to start. I know they started early, or wanted to start early yesterday, because they still have a lot more to do. If we can find out the precise time, then we certainly will announce that to you. We just want to say to the Premier, and if he's not listening, if someone is listening, just pass it on to him. Remember, in the Legislative Assembly, and I don't have to remind him of that, in the Legislative Assembly, even in Finance Committee, he has parliamentary privilege. So please do not pull any punches this morning. Let it all hang out this morning. Let it all hang out. We know that there are entities in these islands that want to control the media. They want to control the mouthpiece of this country. One mouthpiece that they're not going to control is certainly this one, as long as it's behind the mic. And when it's not behind the mic, then I will get out there and stand up on a wooden crate and say what I have to say as well. Let's look at the editorial. And it talks about corruption in a country corrodes, erodes, and eventually destroys. Agree with it. Totally agree with it. But when they talk about the fact that in Cayman, we're more likely to attribute such behavior, that is corruption, to cultural differences, quote, cultural differences. I don't know what they mean by that. I won't seek to interpret it. Then they go on to say, perhaps that is one reason that our leaders have been so reticent to speak out on sensational allegations of corruption within world and regional football. To adapt the infamous observation of former U.S. Supreme Court Justice Porter Stewart, who was writing about a 1964 case involving the determination of what constitutes hardcore pornography. Perhaps when it comes to identifying corruption, people in Cayman truly don't know it when they see it, because they have been culturally steeped in it. That is a slap in the face of Caymanians to talk about that we have been culturally steeped in corruption. I'll go out on a limb and say we were corruption free before many of you actually came here, right? The other part of it that it talks about, the fact that that is why Cayman's officials should be calling vociferously for a complete investigation into allegations filed in U.S. District Court that Caymanian Jeffrey Rebb, amongst others, used his leadership position within regional football as a platform for perpetration of acts of corruption and money laundering. We have said already, the presumption of innocence until proven guilty must prevail. The Premier has made a statement in regards to what Cayman condones, what Cayman will not condone, and he supports any investigation. But there is no need to go out there on a witch hunt. The financial institutions have said that they're looking into it. What else does he want us to do? Does he want us to take our Caymanians and crucify them before they have been adjudged in a proper court of law? Do we want to take them and judge them in the court of public opinion or on the front pages of the Caymanian Compass? No, that is not supposed to happen. 2 callers, 3 callers on the line, 5 callers on the line. Gentlemen, I don't know that you all going to get much to say today, but anyway,
it's their show.
It's the caller's show, so we're going to take them now. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Since there's so many of you lined up, I ask you to be as brief as possible, be to the point, and we're gonna talk. Go right ahead, caller.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Uzi. Good morning, Chris, and good morning, Steve-O.
Good morning, Mr. Rupert.
Yeah, man, I am listening, boy. It's hot today.
Oh yes, hot under the collar.
I love it. But you know, I read that editorial and I thought to myself, you know, people like this guy that come here, they came here not because they loved us, you know. They came here for opportunity and they happened to luck out and they got their little position. Now they feel that they you know. But that's another story. I'll tell you that sometime about some stuff. Anyway, thing that gets me about when they talking about posting this guy's picture on top of the front page. He's not been convicted of anything. But this is what this little wimp does, you know. He likes to make people look small, and he should look at himself. The thing is this, that they had four Romanians or 4 Eastern Europeans that came in.
Yes,
Remember?
yes.
Scam the thing?
Yes.
You always saw one of them pictures in the paper?
Not one. And
one.
And notwithstanding that they scammed me also, who represented them, they scammed me also, who represented them. And then what they did, and some of the comments they were ridiculing me because I was demanding to get paid to be paid from them. But they never put my picture in the page to say that that it was wrong for them not to pay me as a lawyer.
You were a victim also,
yes,
right?
A victim,
yeah.
yes.
Go right ahead, Rup.
Yeah. Anyway, I can leave because I know you got a call in the field, but these are the things that I see that's going on here, and we need somebody in government. We need the people like the guys we talked about earlier to get up there and start telling this guy, you know, like, what is there any? Let me ask this question: just because you might get Cayman status, is there anything that says that if you don't behave yourself, we can kick you off this island?
There are provisions for loss of Caymanian status, but it's usually in the case of convictions, and it depends on how you acquired Caymanian status as well. Cabinet grants, for instance, at one point in time under the law, you know, the grant by cabinet were different from the grants, you know, by the board in relation to provisions for loss of it as well. But
this is the thing. These are the things we're seeing, and gentlemen, that I think we need to do. We need to have laws that we can. People that come here and the minute they get status, then they figure they can do whatever they want.
Yeah. If
you know, and these we gotta take anyway.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you very much, caller. Yeah, if we don't really stand up and defend ourselves here in the Cayman Islands, we're not going to be second-class citizens. We're going to be non-citizens.
I remember one professor telling me once in college, whatever the law give it, the law can take it away. So we will see.
Yeah. Next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Art.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Okay, and good morning to Mr. Steve and Mr. Saunders.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, bro.
I'd like to share something with you all.
Go right ahead.
There are 2 sorts of seeds which men sow in this life. Good and evil. 2 kinds of sowers. Spiritual men and carnal men. 2 sorts of ground in which this seed is sown.
Fertile.
The flesh and the spirit. 2 sorts of harvest which men are going to reap according to the seed. Corruption and life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you all doing?
Morning, Mr. Robert. How are you doing? I spoke to your friend yesterday, and I told him to tell you to listen this morning because it was going to be hot. I haven't gotten to talk about the Finance Committee proceedings yesterday. So
Yeah. First, I think, Mr. The part of the show that I listened to, Mr. Marco Archer did an excellent job in presenting whatever the numbers and facts he presented.
Yep, and
he did a good job.
And if I can interrupt you there also, what he did yesterday, and I have never heard a chairman or a chairperson of Finance Committee yet remind civil servants that they are under oath, that what they say in the finance committee, they're speaking to Parliament, they're under oath, and they must ensure that they're truthful about it, because you were hearing so much, I don't remember, I don't recall, I don't know, and he reminded them of it. It got to one point when one of the HOD said that he had written to an organization in the United States about some certification, and he had indicated how many people in the department had such a certification so that it could be used on the business cards of the individuals in there. And then when one of the members of the Legislative Assembly asked him, how many persons in the department had the certification, then he said, I'm not sure, I can provide that in writing to the member. And Minister Archer said, no, you remember now, you're talking to Parliament here. You said that you wrote to New York and told them how many, so you should know that number now. I'll love you one or two to be off by one or two numbers, but that is about it. You should know because you said that here. So he held their feet to the ground, and I'm glad that he did that.
Good.
He did a wonderful job. That's another day we can talk. But I mean, about this editorial here today, this is what we want to get on. And Leon, I know you say we're cut short, but
no,
I'm kind of long-winded sometimes. But
okay, and I took a little bit of your time, so I'm gonna give you extra 2 minutes.
Okay, all right. One of the things we need to look at this thing, we got to stop letting these people, these editorials, be the movers and shakers here in this, because it all came in and that was all. We should make a general statement. This man is talking nonsense. The corruption came from 20, 30, when all these people started coming in, want to support their own some of the high salaries. That's why all the corruptions come, and affecting even the courts and everywhere to get their way out thing. The poor construction people here today can't get no work because a lot of these foreigners, quantity surveyors, every one of them doing their own thing on the mine, so they came in and don't get any work, And then also I blame our own Cayman because we won't stick together. Here we have you have a principal secretary, a permanent secretary, you call them there. You had two qualified people under that person that was succession to, the ministry. You bypass them, bring somebody from land and service, they knew nothing about that ministry, and you put him inside there. What kind of corruption going on? Then you're letting people retire at 60, and you're bringing people at 67 years old to be employed in the island. Are
you retiring some and you're keeping others because they when they were working in the UK they had a pension and their pension went did a nosedive, and so our people now feel there's an obligation to continue to employ them so that they can have a good pension after a non-Caymanian at that.
Yeah, corruption. Then they took the person I'm talking about now, hire his wife to that's past retirement age too. What kind of thing going on? Then you got some personnel is past age, maybe 67, never 70, and he's still there, but he's the one ordering that the people at 60 years old retire. I see some of our young Caymanians that are healthy, that and the shame their retirement is at 60. And listen, when you look at immigration too, all you got to look inside immigration and find out those jobs that are there, the majority of, let's say, diesel mechanic, whatever they are, electrician, whatever they are, and find the number and make a plan to send some of them back, because you got 600 students coming out that's qualified. You train them, they should be understudied.
And designate certain jobs for Caymanians. Yes. That's the one thing that the Jordanian talks about, and he speaks about Mr. Elio Solomon's initiative, his private members motion in that regard. That is something that we need to continue to credit him for.
Other countries, Germany has an apprenticeship program. Why is it we don't have the apprenticeship? These young people coming out of the place there, put them in apprenticeship, and after 3 years, whatever the time is, the person must go home. They're told that we need to find work for our young people. Let me tell you something. All this let me tell you something. This is a long subject, see. This is psychological. Is messing up the young Cayman people coming, because we feel we don't have no hope in the Cayman Islands. You know what I mean? And as the police thing there, this man, listen, what the newspapers doing to help the Cayman Islands better itself, instead of us becoming a better society. You know, how we look at it now, we becoming, a society that's a lot of problems. So they're not doing nothing. All they just capitalize on these grandiose statements in the thing to sell their newspaper and sell advertisement. That's all it is. And this is a fact, because I know when a former editor was there and there was a rape case going on, and it was so explicit on detail. I went to the man as a young Cayman and said, man, listen, you shouldn't be reporting all that kind of stuff went on. Yes, to move the case, but don't go into all this detail. Oh man, don't be naive. This will sell the paper, and that's what they're looking at for all these headlines here to sell their newspaper.
Okay, caller.
Playing the Caymanian, you know. Let me say something. I appreciate both of the other guests there, Mr.
Saunders and Mr. Markfield, yes, yeah.
Yeah, you know, they're speaking well and so forth, but Cayman need to come together as a one people, man. You know, it's too long we fragmented, man.
Agree.
You know?
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much. We're going to go to the next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, gentlemen. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Morning.
Great, man. Again, another day above ground, so all is well. I'm trying to make it short and sweet, though.
Okay.
I'm not really a big caller or anything like that. As a matter of fact, this is my first time calling this show.
Well, welcome, and thanks for...
Yeah, man. Thank you, too. My name, and I always give my name when I do call into the other talk shows, which is very seldom. My name is David Alfred Anglin, and I'm a younger Caymanian, 35 years old. I work in the hospitality industry from time I was like 14 years old. Hotels. Right now I work for Kelly's Water Sports, and I've been working there 13 years and 6 months now. And
that's a locally owned, Caymanian owned company.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
And most of his employees are Caymanians.
Great.
Yeah. Wonderful man. Anyways, I got a couple of things I want to touch on quick time.
Sure, go right ahead.
And I love, so far, a friend of mine called me and told me that I should listen to you guys this morning. I heard you guys before, but you guys want to come on like Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. You know, I'm a big talk show fan. I'm always tuning in. But speaking about, like, they were talking about the new dock. I heard them talking about building new dock. From time, just a couple of years back, they had to use spots. Now, that place is in a mess, man. The first impression is the best impression, last impression. When you approach it in that place, it looked like all this chain link fence, barbed wire on the top. I think if I had tourists, I would think I'd go into some penitentiary or something. All these rocks all over the place. We want to build a dock. I think that's the perfect spot to build a dock. What you want to put tourists around cargo dock for? Things happen around those kind of docks. I mean, things happen on the tourist dock too, God forbid. But I think that's the perfect spot to put it. Anyways, next little thing. We're talking about the minimum wage. I think that's a big problem. Why? Some young Caymanians, because they call us lazy, they say we lazy. I want them to prove that I'm not lazy. Within Kelly's Water Sports, I got 3 different positions. I work on a boat, I can do tours in the bus, and I do transfers.
Excellent. And they pay you a good salary.
Yes, sir.
Great.
And not all the time people tip, but that's the next thing too. Tip is just a token of appreciation. But the minimum wage, $6 CI an hour. Come on, man. I mean, we can barely make it. Doing this how we can make it, and I'm not being biased or anything to another nationalities, but only how we as Caymanians will make it. If, like a lot of people say, we got to be united. There's Filipinos. I know a couple of Filipino friends, nice people. And a lot of them, I don't know if I should say this, but anyways, a lot of them, like, they bunk up together, think the same, but some of them work all just getting like $4. Well, thank God for the minimum wage going up to $6. They're making $6 now. But they're like doing like janitorial work and that kind of stuff. Caymanians can do that too. But they're not going to work for $6 an hour. And gas is $4 and something cents an hour. By the time they take out pension and health, sure, you're lucky they got $1 left. So, when I worked at Ritz-Carlton. While working Kelly's Water Sports, I worked in Ritz-Carlton nighttime doing valet. They started us off at $3.25 an hour. And the reason why and this was US, not even CI.
Wow.
Yeah, man, seriously. The reason what they told us why they started us off at that rate, because we were the first people to meet the people coming to the hotel, so we get first opportunity of tip. So what? Tip, not all the time you get tip. tip is just a token of appreciation. I don't have to tip if I don't want to tip.
But your job was important too, since you're the first one that meeting them. You make the first impression on them. So if they paid you properly, then that means that you will have the right attitude towards your job.
Oh man, it was beautiful, man. I left them though because they wanted me to come work from full time. And they told me, I told them, I said, well, they had to meet what Kelly's Water Sports were paying me. They find that hard to do. And they pay me by the hour. Kelly's Water Sports, I get paid like by the trip or the tour or transfer. And I must say, it pretty helped this thing.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much, caller, for that. And a big shout out on For the Record for Kelly's Water Sports and Kelly's Enterprise, a Caymanian company employing the majority of Caymanians and paying them well.
If Caymanians won't work, they can go there and check him, man.
Yep, great. Thank you very much.
916-0336, that's his number.
Excellent. We'll give you a free plug on that, too.
My number is 927-43290. Come talk to me. And, man, I see if I can hook him up to a little job. And not only that, I want to try to take my country back, too.
Yeah, and we're going to help you do that. We're going to help you take it back.
Yeah, man, sick and tired of this.
Take care. Have a great weekend. Thanks for calling and continue listening.
Another thing short and sweet to the young Caymanians that can vote 2017. We can change this. We can change all this. What we need to do is get rid of
register and vote.
PPM, get rid of it. Get rid of the stale news. Put some fresh stuff up inside there. Call it doing beating up each other anyway. Bunch of kindergarten children. Get rid of them. We got new stuff gonna be running.
Thank you very much, caller. Take care. Have a nice day. Next caller, please.
Thank you. Have a great day, too.
Thanks. Next caller, please. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. O'Connor.
Good morning, Amjad. How are you doing? Your ear must be ringing. We called your name this morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chris.
Morning, bro.
I always enjoy this day when Mr. McField and Mr. Chris is there. So I just want to comment in the issue of writing about corruption. I think I am one of the first people noticed, and a lot of people in this country, and I speak about it in the radio before, when there is a Caymanian under suspicion, even just suspicion, all his pictures and history being put in the media right away. And when people want to speak about corruption, they need to speak about who is Hassan Saeed, who is those bankers. They get convicted in United States who is non-Caymanians. They need to speak about those. You never hear about stories like somebody steal $500,000 from a bank who is non-Caymanian. You never hear about stories, if we look in general about corruption in the Cayman Islands, we are the least country in the world. Less country. I can tell you we are the less country in the world. I travel 47 countries. I know, I read, I am a good reader. I listen to a lot of news all over the globe. I think in terms of corruption, we have to thank God. I criticize the BPM government. I criticize ministers and stuff. But thank God we don't have a corrupted minister. We don't have, people who's involved in a huge corruption or corrupted politicians. We have to thank God that we have in this island a very decent politicians. Even we don't like what they do. Yes, we disagree with what they do. I disagree with the PPM, but I will say that we don't have corrupted politicians in general. We just need to always respect that we have a very decent politicians in this island.
Okay, caller, I'm going to ask if you can leave us there because we have to go to a commercial break, but we still have another 45 minutes, so if you want to call back, certainly please feel free to do that. For those 3 callers that are on hold, we're going to take a short commercial break. Just stay on the line because we're going to take your calls as soon as we come back from this short commercial break. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record, where my guest in the studio with me this morning, Mr. Steve McField, Mr. Christopher Saunders, going straight to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I want to touch on a couple things, and then you guys can comment once I'm off the air.
Certainly.
You know, we look at Caymanian positions, or Cayman and their positions that are filled here, but we need to look at the top. And if you don't have Cayman in HR, how do you expect to have Cayman in
Yes.
And I don't, and I have to generalize or separate Caymanians from paper Caymanians because they separate themselves from us.
Exactly.
They are Caymanians to get the paper, but after they have gotten that paper, they're no longer Caymanians. I'm going to touch on Ritz Carlton. I work in hospitality. I have all Caymanian staff, and that is something that we pride ourselves in because you cannot be both in Cayman tourism and you're not Caymanian. And I've said this for forever. You cannot have someone that is non-Caymanian in HR and expect that stock to be Caymanian, especially in the tourism industry, because one of the first questions that they ask you, are you Caymanian? What can you recommend as Caymanian? What history, what culture? And no offense to other cultures because I am not culture diverse or anything like that. But I just feel that in the hospitality and tourism, it needs to be sold by our own people. And we have to start, and I spoke with a couple of professors and stuff like this, streamline the job. You have a department that all of these jobs go through. You need to know who's filling them, why they're filling them, because what is happening, and Ritz Carlton is famous for it, you have a job that's out there and you don't know who was hired for that job. And when you start to investigate, it's a non-Caymanian that has less qualifications than a Caymanian that applies. But there's nothing that person can do about it because they can't get the job either way. So you need to streamline that you have a department that looks at every single job that's available, follow up on who has gotten that job, what are their qualifications in opposed to what they advertise, because that's another thing. They advertise it so high and beyond that a Caymanian cannot qualify for it, but you have someone else of another nationality that barely can read and write English. Second thing I want to touch on is the minimum wage. Now, we in the industry get gratuity, we get tips, but like the first caller said, that's a token of our appreciation, and it's not required. But even the gratuity is seasonal. So you cannot factor in that gratuity into that minimum wage. So to exempt the hospitality industry from minimum wage is a big slap in the face for us in the industry. You can't have people serving you and paying them $3.25 an hour, and they're making you $800-900 a night. Because when you're at the top, you're not the one that's making the money. It's service people that are making the money. And to show them that insult that you do with that $3.25 to begin with, and then want to argue that they should not get minimum wage because they get gratuity is a big insult. But once again, it comes from the top that are not Caymanian. So we need to deal from the top, come down to ensure that our Caymanians are treated fairly. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, caller. Very, very good observation, by that caller, and very similar to what I say in terms of that, government needs to clean up its own house before it can do, go to the private sector and say what they're going to do as well. It's almost like a parallel, in relation to that. I want to give you gentlemen an opportunity to comment before we go back to the two callers still on hold. We have two callers, but just to give you both a short comments.
I have a soft spot in terms of the hospitality industry. When I was going to college, I used to work at a sleeping hotel as a night auditor. From 11 at night to 7 in the morning, would get dressed at the hotel, and then go do my government job from 8:30 to 5. Did that for 16 months to save for college. My father was also a bartender at Holiday Inn for years. Everybody remember a short bartender, Roy. 5 kids, 5 college education. My mother, for years back before she started, even in the financial industry, also worked at Royal Palm. So this is going way back, and my age is kind of coming out. What we have done to the tourism industry in this country by discouraging so many Caymanians from getting involved is a travesty. There's a Cape Town being built right now. the Cape Town is going to need at least 250 to 300 staff. I mean, where are the Caymanians now being trained for those positions? Right now, we should have Caymanians going around working in other Cape Town properties around the world. That by the time that hotel opens, they're Caymanian in management, and not just Caymanians standing at the door. These are entry-level jobs. This is the kind of stuff we need to start doing from now.
Yes.
We saw it already with Health City. We saw the hotel. We saw the facility being built. I mean, where's the funding needed to give UCCI to pump more medical people coming out? Again, nothing being done. We give all these concessions, and for what? To create jobs for other people. The last labor report came out. 1,600 jobs were created in Cayman in 2014. 1,000 of work permit holders, 600 for Caymanians. Do we really believe that this kind of model is sustainable for Caymanians?
Okay.
And we have Caymanians still out of work?
Right, we're going to take one more call and then give Mr. McPhail an opportunity to make some comments. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, gentlemen.
Good
morning.
Morning, Kenneth. How are you?
Morning, Kenneth.
Morning.
I'm not too bad. You guys are doing a great job this morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I want to highlight two things. First, the minimum wage. I would like to have you guys comment on it. It's interesting that the minimum wage committee said in their report that the figure of $6 that they recommended would only be good for 1 year after the report was issued. The report was issued in January, so that figure would only be good until January 2016. But the government has accepted it and said that they would implement it in March. Some 2 months after the deadline, which means the number would no longer be good. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but the report says that that number wouldn't be good because you have to factor in inflation and all those other things into the number after a year. So maybe you can give a comment on that. I find that very interesting that they know that the report says that the figure could only be good for a year, but yet still they've set a date 2 months after the deadline. Secondly, in regards to what Mr. Saunders just said, in training, the Progressives, which I was a part of their campaign in the 2013 election, we stood on the platform to talk about trade schools, and it was a major part of our campaign. I think it's a high point that got us elected. But yet still the government that I was a part of, that I'm still a member of the Progressives, still haven't done anything in regards to training. Matter of fact, to the contrary, two of the main training houses here, one of them being the mechanic school, I can't remember what's the name of it, but Chris, you may remember
the one at Superior Auto.
Yes.
Superior Auto themselves are finding it difficult to get the little funding that they usually get per year from government, and themselves are going through difficulties. So not only are they not moving forward with the training schools that they said they were going to do, but they even seems like they're cutting back on funding and or giving it a hard time for the funding to be placed in the hands of those persons who are doing.
And Kenneth,
schools.
as you know, Alan Moore Haha's school is going to soon be opening as well. We're going to be pushing that here on For the Record as well, as soon as I get some details in relation, to when it's going to be opening and contact numbers and stuff. But that's coming soon.
Well, I hope the government is going to sit down and talk with Mr. Moore and offer up all the resources that are necessary and the assistance necessary, because that's from a grassroots level where majority of the unemployment is, and Mr. Moore knows those persons directly and can assist them. So I hope the government is prepared to do that. But I would like for you guys' opinion on the minimum wage in regards to why would government put it 2 months after the deadline? Is this something that is intentional so they don't ever have to do it? I don't know. I don't want to make any speculations. I want your opinion. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry, Kenneth, I just need to add in one thing. I'm almost certain that Mr. Moore will get some funding, because after all, if you're moving to a one-man, one-vote scenario and you're looking to run in Georgetown Central, because someone has to, there's no way you can be looking to do that and not support a school in that area. So I expect Mr. Moore to get his funding, because if he doesn't, well, it'll be definitely political fodder.
Yeah. Let's see if we can take the other caller before we go to the headline news at 9 o'clock. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am very well, and welcome to your panel also.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I just wanted to touch base on, your first opening remarks this morning, because I had to go into an 8 o'clock appointment.
Mm-hmm.
I just came back out, so I missed some in between that. But I wanted to touch on the word indigenous Caymanians. That is something that irritates me every second of the day, because that is the first grave mistake that the country did when they were granting status grants, because you gave the whole analogy of how America is, and when you get your papers there with the different titles it is, etc. And that is something I think that we failed big on. I don't know if we can correct it. At the time, you were probably the chief immigration officer when all that was going down. I don't know if you had any chance in making an input.
Actually, that was I was there, and when the first tranche of grants were given, and then I became cabinet secretary after that. But when I got over to the cabinet office, I got involved in it over there as well. You know.
Well, I don't really mean the status grants for you being there.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah,
came out with the title.
Oh yes.
Because I think that was our mistake as Caymanians for not standing up and having a separation. Because I'll give you a quick example and then I'll be off.
Okay.
Is that, for instance, if you want to see the loyal status grants, you have a match going on at that Truman Borden Stadium, a big event, because I went to many of them. And then you're surprised to see from the high echelons who have been raised up in Cayman, didn't necessarily born here, but some of them had been born here too because they went to school with me. They are waving the flags of the other countries that is playing against us. And I sometimes get in confrontation by saying, where is your darn loyalty? Because that is what makes us realize then that nobody cares about the name Caymanian except the indigenous Caymanians. And I think that that's where we have failed, and we need to correct it because it's bothering our children, even at school. I'm telling you, I have a granddaughter that wanted to go into swimming up at the Clifton Harbor. She couldn't get into that. The teacher is from a certain Caribbean country, and 90% in her school, in her classroom, is from that country. And every one of them, if they couldn't even swim, they're making sure they can get in and swim in. That's scholarship grounds, you know? That is the area. So, and my daughter isn't as aggressive and arrogant as I had been for her and her brother, because they weren't going to leave them out on anything that they wanted to do when they were going to school. I made sure that one. So I just wanted to leave you with that, because that's where we have had our problems.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys very much, and I'm listening. And today is a very good show because anything Caymanian. And lastly, that Compass editorial, we don't need to boycott it for no 1 month. We need to boycott it forever, because that newspaper should be called the Redneck Republican newspaper. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you, caller.
Thank you.
And the Germans, you know, the Germans talk about citizenship. If it don't, it has to flow through your veins.
That's
you know.
right.
It has to be German blood, otherwise you don't qualify. Folks, I want to remind you that you're listening to For the Record. I'm your host, Dorrit Connor. 2 callers online. We ask those callers to be extremely patient. We're going to go to the headline news. When we come back, we'll go straight to the phone lines again. Please stay tuned. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record, where I'm your host, Dorrit Connor, and my guest in the studio with me this morning, we have Mr. Steve Macfield, prominent local attorney, and Mr. Christopher Saunders, CPA, political pundit, political candidate,
You've gone far.
Sort of a half-decent domino player, but he gets his 6 loves now and then, and he'll admit to them when he gets them as well. And for those of you who are just tuning in, if the show sounds a little anti-expat this morning, don't interpret it as such. Interpret it as being pro-Caymanian. One emailer has emailed and said, when they talk about FIFA and the Cayman Islands, they should be remembered or reminded. Bank of America fined 17 billion, BNP 9 billion, JP Morgan, Citibank, and the Texan Alan Stanford. Interesting to note that only Stanford went to prison, maybe because he was living in the Caribbean. I recall a small time a photographer was used to buy top-ups for his phone, and today he's touted as the owner of a media house. Talk about the source of funds. When pigs fly. Thank you very much, listener, for that.
So I just want to make one comment.
Sure.
Look at the whole FIFA thing, and I noticed they're selectively naming certain institutions in the media, the small houses. Why don't they take on the big law firm that did a lot of work, even locally here for CONCACAF? Why they don't call them? You know why? The amount of lawyers that they have in the floors of the buildings that they have, they will sue them. You know what I mean? You want to talk about corruption? Where's the picture for the lawyer that had the hit and run? Why isn't his picture on the newspaper?
Yes.
What about the lady from the Pines that stole all that money? Come on. They need to be balanced, man. We're beginning to show.
Yep.
Anyway, the callers.
Let's go to the phone line. Good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Ms. Daphne. How are you?
Good morning.
I'm doing well, thank you, and thank you for sharing the particular subject about Caymanians. I want to give God thanks for what we have. We are blessed. We have a lot that we can be thankful for. But OC and Mr. Saunders, Mr. McField, you will agree that Caymanians are not as happy now, even though you would look at the overall scene and think, well, we're that much more prosperous. But to say that our people are as happy, that's not the case. We are, many of us feel as if we're second-class citizens in our country. If you look at the newspapers and you see where there's a big function, you see where there is a big fundraiser or whatever it might be, there are not many faces that you see posted in the newspaper, whether that's done on purpose or not, but not many of those individuals that you can look at and say, oh, he or she is Caymanian. That aside, think of this. One of the largest hotels on the 7 Mile Beach. I know the young man. Working on the beach, studying very, very hard at night. But the subject he's taken also requires that he has to do practical work in order to do the exam. You can study as hard as you want, but you need to get into UCCI in order to do the practical part of the exam. He's working on the beach. This Englishman did not see him to take to him very much, because there were certain times he'd call him in, and I had the opportunity of discussing the matter with him. But I want to make this as short as possible.
Please do.
But you're on the beach. He's a Caymanian. He's talking to the tourists who are there, lying there, and he's giving them the information he knows about Cayman. And then they're asking, where can we go to get real Cayman food? Where can we go to get something which the locals like? So he tells them of a few different places that he knows. Someone comes up and says, I heard what you were saying. Do you know I could get you fired? For what, sir? Because you were promoting restaurants other than what's at the Ritz-Carlton. He said, but the Ritz-Carlton does not have restaurants like what this gentleman was asking me. Anyway, that aside, again, bonsai, when it came to him trying to get time off, he didn't want to leave his job now. He was doing really well, making tips and everything. He did not want to leave his job. He begged the gentleman. He went to personnel. He said, I don't want to leave the job. Can you get someone? I know of someone who would fill in for me a half day in order for me to get to go to UCCI so that I can do the practical part. My exam is coming up. He had to leave the job. Okay? Now, this young man is trying to further his education. Now, on the other hand, when it comes to even the drivers and the buses, why do you hire someone from the Philippines, Jamaica, Honduras, UK, US, Canada, or anything to be a tour, to work on the tour to give the tourist information? If particularly those who have only come here for a few years? Wouldn't you give it to a Caymanian who knows about Cayman? This is our tourism industry. What are we thinking about? We have to understand that we must promote our island. I'm not anti-expat. I'm not anti-expat against those who we call paper Caymanians. I'm saying that there's certain positions in certain industries in this country that must be reserved for Caymanians. And one in particular is no one who is not a Caymanian should be the personnel officer in any company where you see a majority of their own nationality. Something is not right there, gentlemen. Have a good day. I wait your comment.
Thank you very much, Ms. Daphne. We have one caller left. Before we go to that caller, I'm going to make a statement. Caller, just bear with us a second. I just want to say to the government of the day, they were elected, feel that they have a mandate. What we want to say publicly to the government of the day is that your mandate, the mandate that you have from the people now of the Cayman Islands, Caymanians, is to promote Caymanians, ensure that Caymanians have jobs, ensure that Caymanians are put in positions that they deserve. It can be done. You want to ride the wave, this is the time to ride the wave now, because you have the Caymanian people behind you. Don't wait until 2017 to try to get them behind you. The wave is cresting now. Ride the wave. Stand up, promote Caymanians. Mr. McFeeler, I know I promised to give you an opportunity to say something.
Well, I want to reiterate what I said when I first came to the premier of this country. He has a majority in the Legislative Assembly. I want him to do more than just make statements about the compass, about corruption, and about Caymanians to be hired in the fire service. The Constitution gives him power to do something about that. He needs to use the Constitution, which empowers him to do so. He has a majority in the Legislative Assembly, and I'm sure that the opposition and the independents in the Legislative Assembly is not going to oppose him if he does something for Caymanians. I want him to take legislation down, or to take amendments down to the law, and to fix this one problem for me and for the other people, and to say to the executive government, we are not going to have anybody else in the fire chief position except a Caymanian, and make that law.
And we want to say to those legislators out there, instead of having a private member's motion that talks about politicians not being able to give handouts to people, let's get a private member's motion that says
to amend the law.
Yeah, to amend the law to ensure that Caymanians are put in those positions. I got a call yesterday about the advert for the helicopter pilot. Now, someone from the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, please call me and tell me it ain't so. Because the caller said I wanted to make sure I wasn't making an error, but they got the impression that the ad was placed yesterday and the dateline for the application was yesterday as well. Someone tell me it ain't so. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, gentlemen, this is me again, man, Mr. England. I want to get back to that minimum wage thing. I think that they should raise that to either $8 to $10 CI an hour. And I think I'm the last caller that's true before you guys get off. Finish?
Well, we may go over again today. I know the last whole radio show host that did that. A few days after that, he was gone. But we're not going to worry about that. Chris has a job, Mr. Markfield has a job, and I'm retired. Thank you very much for your call.
I was on a show when you went over to.
Yeah, man, did a good little show today, man. I enjoyed it. And if I can say this real quick, I came up with a little, I call it Island Mantra, because I want to do a little rally or something with mostly young Caymanians, older folks can join us too if they want to. But I create this little thing and it go like this: today and always, this is our pledge. Ready, united, together we stand to honor, to serve God, our home, our land. Forward, onward to reach our goal. Yea, let us remember our aim must be one. Undaunted, loyal, brave, and true. Now this we can all proudly say, hail Cayman, hail, hail, all hail.
Well done.
Thank you very well done, caller.
So, I want to start. I think I get back this little piece of rock here there, but talk about yet they come down and they want a piece of the pie and man, take the little place for granted.
Yep.
Man, yeah.
And take us for fools. Try to take us for fools. Play us for fools. Yep. Thank you very much, caller. Got one email here that I'm going to read. Miss Twyla May Vargas. She says, "Good morning, Mr. Connor, Mr. Macfield, Mr. Saunders. 3 stalwart men of this island that I have great respect and honor for. I want you to run for next election." Chris, that's you, Mr. Macfield.
Well, she vote button down,
Yeah, you will get my big support. It is difficult to get on this morning's show, but I want you to read this email and please do not hold back my name. Call my name, Twyla May Vargas. It's Twyla May Vargas who is commenting. "Today I am not complaining about the Cumber Avenue flooding because no water can upset me more than to read what the Caymanian Compass media is doing to this country and its people. I am hoping you leave some space for me on the crate you mentioned, because I am one Caymanian ready to stand tall beside you on it. I want to say that we, the indigenous Caymanians, and of course some people object to the use of that word indigenous, but it's like black people in the United States. We can call each other nigger, but the white person can't call us nigger. So if we want to call ourselves indigenous, we can call it, but you other people, don't call us indigenous.
I'll say this much.
Yeah.
You look at what happened to the American Indians. I'm going to tell you one thing. If we're not careful, we're going to end up like them. And the last time I checked, I don't have an American Indian DNA inside me, so it's not happening.
So,
and Twyla, I just want to let you know that when this matter came up, first the flooding in Cumber Avenue several years ago when I was on the board, I had the board to make a study of how to combat the flooding in Cumber Avenue. And at the time, the engineers said that we needed to have a pumping station there, a pipe to pump the water out. And in fact, they said the best place was to pump it across the street out into the sea. But it needed a pumping station that would automatically go on when the water reached to a certain height. They would pump. That at the time, the cost of doing that was some $400,000 or $600,000. That was the cost of putting in the station, and we would never have flooding in Cumber Avenue ever again. Well, they didn't want to spend that kind of money in Cumber Avenue. Although they had money, they didn't want to spend that kind of money in Cumber Avenue. And instead, what they did is that they dig a thing like a cistern in one of the grass pieces that the water could flood over there, it could go over there and hold as a holding pen. That didn't work. That is not going to work. And Cumber Avenue is not going to get fixed, Twyla, until somebody who loves your districts, who loves your people, and who is interested in your people's welfare come and do the job and fix it. Like you said, you're going to have a chance again in 2017, and I ask you to really look at the person, the kind of person and the kind of people who loves you and who can fix your situation. I appreciate you. I know you very well, and I'm glad that you sent us this email, and I'm hoping that I can help to solve that problem in Cumber Avenue. but of course, no, I do not have any power on any boards.
Okay, we have two callers, but I want to finish her emails. Reading her email, she says, "I want to say that we, the indigenous Caymanians, all need to find a crate and stand on, because it is absolutely disgusting, embarrassing, and sickening to see the bias crap that they are printing to hurt the people of the Cayman Islands, expressed the people of the Cayman Islands, the indigenous people. A deep vendetta is being expressed in their publication, and I want to further say that it is high time the government bench and the backbench government need to set aside their differences and start defending their people. Yes, we have to take on the common enemy. That's what I'm adding that to it. Mr. Ezard said something some weeks ago, and we may have taken that for a joke, but we better take it serious. I have asked this question before: where are our Caymanian men and women when we could get out and march for our rights? Well, I too want to second Mr. Ezard's comments. Serious times are around the corner. The Cayman, we always say, if we cannot get you in the wash, we will get you in the rinse water. Thank you kindly. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, gentlemen. Kenneth here again.
Good morning.
Hey,
again,
morning,
Kenneth.
Mr. OC, thank you so much for your bravery this morning. It's so important, especially in these times. You're in a peculiar spot working for government.
No, I'm not working for them.
Well, I mean, considering the fact that I'm aware of how and what the purpose of For the Record was built, and I can say publicly it was built because the simple fact is the government didn't want to go on Rooster and face Austin. Because they couldn't control the message, and I can tell you that because I was a part.
Right, but we can add to that, Kenneth, that I set my terms and conditions in terms of that I wouldn't be muzzled. I certainly wouldn't say anything that puts the government or Radio Cayman in a position where they become, liable, legally liable. But I set my terms and conditions, and one term and condition was that there had to be balance here. Not only the government, but we had to have the opposition as well. Now the independents come on, the other official opposition hasn't been on in a while, but Mr. Bush has said he will let me know when he's ready to come back on. I set my terms and conditions, and just for the benefit of the listening audience, I am not paid to do this job. I sacrifice my riding sometimes a week. As a matter of fact, now I have switched, and I go riding at 4 o'clock in the morning as opposed to 4:30 some mornings, but I come in to be in on this show. So it is all for the love of my people and for the love of country.
Kenneth, I need to add something there too also. Ultimately, when you look at it and look at the trend, you saw Jonathan leaving Rooster, you saw Austin leaving Rooster, yet this is the one show and the one station where pretty much the people really have a voice, because this is not driven by any commercial interest. So that is something to take a note of.
Well, I'm just glad that you guys are steering the attitude moving forward in regards to the balance and the debate about our country's issues. That being said, I think that what I'm experiencing today on the show is the notion that people are starting to understand there's a quiet storm coming, and in regards to a change of attitude to how we treat Caymanians in this country. And all of those who are listening and probably going to watch this on TV at a later point, I want you guys to think about that. I want my people to think about having representation of people who are willing to stand for you regardless of what the outcome is. We got to stop being afraid to stand and say, I am a Caymanian. I deserve opportunities in this country because this is my country. We have to stop being afraid. We've been a reserved set of people for a long time. By all means, nobody's talking about no revolutions before anybody misconstrue what I'm saying. What I'm saying is stand proud and be proud of being standing up. I feel that I'm one of those individuals, and I can't wait to stand with my people coming and moving forward, because we have to have representatives, people in the community who say, listen, I'm sick and tired of this. We have to come first The progressives said that's what they were going to do, and it's far from what they're doing. That being said, thank you so much, OC, and your panel for being balanced about any debating issue in this country.
Well, Kenneth, let me just remind you and yeah, and Mr. OC's audience, Kenneth, I am not afraid, and I guess that's the reasons why I found myself in the position that I am in. If I had been afraid, I would probably be better off, because doors would be open to me, and the people that I go to complain to would not the people that would be the people I complain about. And Kenneth, I know what it is to be poor. I know what it is to walk in Georgetown in this country with cardboard in the bottom of my shoes to keep just to wear shoes. I know what it is to do that. I know what it is to be disappointed. I know what it is to be seeking a job when I was qualified and never got one. I have been there, Kenneth. I have been there. I have done it, and I have took. Is the song say? I have taken the blows, and I am not afraid of anyone. The only person I'm afraid is my master, my maker, the one who made this machine that I am using today on the radio. That's the only person that I am afraid of, the God, the great God Almighty. I am not afraid of mankind. I never was, I'm not is, and I never will be. And so, as long as there's truth, you will hear it from me, and I'm sure you will hear it from my colleagues too.
Certainly.
See if I can close on this.
Sure.
Afterwards, right? What was the senior Mr. McField that used to have the bar down in Rockhold, down Mary Street there? What's his name again?
Would be Mr. McField's Uncle Farmer.
Yes.
Farmer. Mm-hmm. And you know the funniest thing is, right? As I hear the issues that are going on in my country, I have a perspective, an older senior perspective that I always hear, and that's my mother. And every time a topic comes up, she always says this, and it's so interesting. She says, I tell you what, if this were back in the time when Farmer were around, I bet you this wouldn't be happening. And it says so much about the time today and what Caymanians were like before, because the older generation of Caymanians never used to stand and watch Caymanians be taken advantage of. And we've become this reserved set of people. Until we stand together for each other, regardless of our differences, we're not going to move forward, because other people have their own interests. We have to have the interests of Caymanians. That has to be our first priority, no matter what position you play, if you're the garbage man to the premier, and we all have to be on the same page. And I hope that we get there coming in the future.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. I think we have one more caller online. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. We have a few callers on there.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Amjad. If you can make yours short, please, because we have some other callers, new callers on behind you as well.
Yeah, if you don't want me speak.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, if you don't want me speak in your show, just tell me now. I will not call your show.
No, I asked you to be short because we are running out of time and we want to accommodate everyone.
Do me this in purpose,
if you listen, Amjad, I do it to almost everyone when we're short on time. I just asked you. I didn't say I wasn't going to take your call. I asked you to be short. Now you're wasting your time arguing with me.
Yeah, I just want to tell you about bias. I am not thinking that or being anti-expat.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there is people who want to defend their country. I agree with that. I think it is the right of you, Mr. McPhee, Mr. Chris Sander, to defend the Caymanian people.
That's a birthright.
I am always advocate for the Caymanian, because I understand the people who have the rights in this country. They the one born and grow here. They have the right to get job more than me, more than anyone. And I don't think this is could consider an anti-expat. It is fighting for the right of the people.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to speak about the issue of the Energy Summit yesterday. I listened to the presentations of the people who represent the solar.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did very great job, showing that solar is a very good thing for Cayman. But it is very sad that the poor, presentation by the Department of Environment head and the poor presentation by CUC trying to convince this country that from now to 25 years, we have to depend in solar to generate power. I think, it was a very poor presentation. The person was not succeed to convince anyone in that, meeting that there is good thing about solar. Diesel generate power.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to say, this conference was planned by the private sector. It is not planned by Mr. Winston Connolly. He jumped the wagon. He wants to get credit for it. It's very sad. But I think it come late because the government did already sign 25-year deal, so commit to generate by diesel. So I think, government is doing a bad mistake when they sign that contract. It shows that this government it have a lack of vision. They have no vision for anything, for unemployment.
Just want to remind you, just in case you don't know, if you may not have been here at the time, Cable and Wireless also had exclusivity in the Cayman Islands at one point in time too. That was changed as well.
Yeah, Dr.
So
Pearson
CUC's contract is there, but don't dismiss the fact that can't be altered and changed.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it need a leader who can change. I don't see the current government have the leader skills to change anything in this country. It's very sad. You see the situation of the port. They promise us port. They promise us fix the airport. They promise us the whole world. We now hearing about skiing. This ski project. Which the owner of the land never hear about it. It's very sad. It's very sad what they are doing, the people of this country. And I want to thank this lady, Ms. Tawala, for sending that email. It's she always active in the newspaper.
She is very.
I would like
a true Caymanian, a true daughter of the soil.
Calling the talk show and being a part of the discussion in this country. Not just writing in the newspaper.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam
Have a nice day.
You too. Have a great weekend. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Hurston. How are you?
Just fine, thank you, sir. Good morning to you, Mr. Connor. Good morning to Mr. Maxfield.
Good morning,
to
sir.
Mr. Sannett. I hope we don't have the time, so I won't say all of that I wanted to say, but Mr. Maxfield, you said a mouthful there. Your last several words there. It personifies a lot of things about you. And we have to be thankful for people who are willing to say that and do that. We know that people can be victimized and say things. We know that civil servants here do not have the sort of latitude that others have in other countries at all. Even in the colonial power, the civil servants there have the right to say things and all that. They have unions and things like that here, but we can't have that. You don't have that here. We're calling in each day. As the events unfold, we see that with regards the indigenous people have long said that we should make that distinction, and every country does it. When they do census, they make a qualification there that people who are indigenous, meaning people who are going back about 2 or 3 generations or so, and we do it with our elected representatives, that if the person isn't born here, they have to be a Caymanian by right of their parents and grandparents, go back to grandparents, I think it is. So there is an official standing on that. And with the United States, now, Mr. Sanders, you've got to realize they've corrected that a long time ago. A long time ago. The Red Indians have privileges that no other citizens in the United States have.
Yep, that's
they have
right.
Certain privileges that no other citizens they have.
On their reservation.
On
their reservation.
No, yeah, but no. They, for instance, in the state of Florida, no one can have a casino but the Red Indians.
On their reservation.
But look at the huge things that they are. You maybe have been in one of them. It's gigantic. They are multi-millionaires. So here's a correction here. But I'm not saying that they weren't kept back and all that.
So were we as slaves. Our ancestors, many of us, our ancestors were slaves, and some came directly from the slave master. Some of the people now, the Caymanians, indigenous, and will be all live together happily. But the fellow was mentioning the minimum wage, Mr. Anglin, my little friend here, Dave, that what we have got to realize is the same impact as when the slavery was abolished, that they now, the slave master and the big merchants would now have to cut back a little bit on their own spending, on their own hope for their children and their grandchildren to be everything, and give the chance to those, their employees, so to speak. And the same thing is happening now. Why there is the big shout out against it is that they don't want to cut back on their kids going to some Ivy League university. They're driving 2 BMWs, 2 Benzes, 2 Cadillacs, whatever. Now they'll have to cut back and let that other person have dignity, have the man respect, and have his children have a chance at good life, because you're waging your little salary. They talk about it crippling the economy and it causing inflation. That's nonsense. Nonsense. It will cause it if we are weak and let them do that. But the thing is, they have to realize that it is no more just me, for me and my family, no more for just me and my family. And it should be, like Mr. Anglin said, $8 an hour to be realistic. It should be no less than that. That's just my opinion, gentlemen. Have an excellent day. Listen on.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Whatever else I wanted to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hurston. We have 3 callers online, and we're going to accommodate all of those 3 callers before the show goes off. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to go straight to the phone lines. Please stay tuned. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have a few callers online. Before we go to the callers, I got 2 messages that I want to read. One of our loyal listeners says, I too am a daughter of the soil. I salute my flag in the morning and sing as much of my national song as I know, just being honest. And above all, I kneel on my knees every morning and give God thanks and praise for him and his mercies and love. And then she says, don't call me a paper Caymanian. I can't spell that word or act like one. She's a true Caymanian, of the soil, a true lady of the soil as well. And then Edlin Moose Moore, talking about the media, Mr. O.C., not only the editor, but also some of the reporters that come here do not share and understand our culture. For example, the tragic accident of my uncle, instead of reporting on the accident, the Compass went on almost a full page of previous convictions. That was not called for. Feel free to call my name, Edlin Moose Moore, and you heard those comments before. Let's go straight to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, gentlemen. Number 1.
Morning, number 1. How are you?
I listen to you. Special good morning, Mr. McField.
Good morning, number 1 from the Brock.
I just want to put 2 questions out there quick to you, and you can answer them. I'll hang up.
Okay.
What is bringing up all this problem about colors again? Black and white and so and so. All that shouldn't start again. That's gone. The second thing is this. When it comes to the papers, if they write things wrong, putting it out there, can't the government have a hand to go and say stop it? I'll go hang up and listen for your answers, okay?
Okay. I'll have Mr. McField, answer the latter for you. He's the legal person. Any more calls? 2 callers. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. O.C.
Morning, Miss Georgette. How are you?
This is Georgette Ebanks. Good morning to Mr. Steve McField and to Mr. Chris Saunders.
Morning, Miss
Georgette.
And I hope that all three of you gentlemen can say that all your family members are well today.
Thank you very much, Miss Georgette.
I am so grateful God gave me another day. I just have 2 questions to ask, and then I will hang up.
Okay.
I would like to know if either of the 3 of you know if we are going to get a Caymanian fire chief, and also if we are going to get a Caymanian court director, because I've been hearing some tales about all the educational level. I guess they must want to have a prime minister at the court and a prime minister for the fire chief.
They're trying to put it out of the reach of Caymanians.
I'm listening to every word, and I will say this without fear, because I'm an old 87-year-old woman. I don't think anybody would have the heart to want to beat me up. But if it came to the push that they were going to march about those two officers being Caymanian, I would be at the head of the line. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you very much, Ms. Georgette. And I really hope that the government is listening and understand the support that they have out there. We must Caymanianize the public service. You cannot go to the private sector and say, do this and do that if you're not doing it yourself. You have to get your house in order first. Next caller. Good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, dear. I know your time is coming up so quickly. What I want to say is that on the minimum wage, definitely tips should not be factored in.
Okay.
We don't know exactly how employers are doing. I don't know what system they have in place to check as to whether tips are distributed in the way that they should be. So, in order to encourage and attract young people to the tourism industry and other industries that are, those industries where you will find people tipping, you want to attract them. So if a really good system of payment, including both wages, salary, and tips, then you will see. Listen, they'll simply say, you know what, I can make good money there. But don't simply say that you're going to factor in tips. You don't know who's going to pay tips or not. The other thing, OC, and gentlemen, I am really, really concerned about the media in this country. I don't understand sometimes when I read it, and quite frankly, I know all that we've seen over the past 10 days or so, almost 2 weeks, I guess it's 2 weeks now maybe, but, we need to understand here. Some of the editorials that I'm seeing are just plain, outright not good for the reputation of Cayman.
Yep, and if you heard me earlier, the Premier will be addressing it in Finance Committee this morning as well, the editorial.
Okay, and then the other thing is, you calling people's name out, and then you go down to the bottom of the editorial, almost to the end, when you say, well, we are not saying that Mr. So-and-so has been accused or charged or anything like this. Listen, put that on the top. And he said, in spite of what we're going to say following this, we want you to know that. And so, you don't put that down to the end. And quite frankly now, they're printing the same information every single day. They are coming back with the same information. So, what they need to do, and OC, you need to check this out, because I am telling you, I'm going to go through with this. The Compass and its affiliate publications are breaking the law, in my opinion, with the amount of advertisement for liquor and alcoholic products. They are getting rich off of the advertising in this country, and it is against the law.
Something we will look into, caller. Thank you very much for that. Have a great day. God bless. One emailer, actually it's WhatsApp, says, why is it whenever there is a pro-Caymanian perspective offered or commentary shared in the public, there seems to be an immediate claim of xenophobia or racism? Is it a crime to be proud of our country and being Caymanian? It appears that colonialism and mental slavery are alive and well in modern day Cayman Islands. So sad. No callers? Two callers still. Gosh, we're not going to complain about them. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, gentlemen. Peter Schmidt here.
Good morning, Peter. Mrs. Smith, how are you?
I am quite fine, thank you. I trust the same for you.
Thank you.
I have a long-standing peeve which you touched on earlier, and that's the training of people. And you just said it again about government bringing its own house in order.
Yes, sir.
I would present this to you. We are on. I think the Kimpton Hotel, being the latest one, was started probably a year ago, and it's slated to open in November 2016. And I just attended a presentation yesterday from our biggest investor in Cayman in terms of what developments may be planned for the next 15 to 20 years. Now, we know it takes cement and sand and rock to build the buildings, but we also have to build the people. We know now that they are going to be needed.
Yeah.
So why
brick and mortar, flesh and blood.
Why can we not take the raw materials now and start to point them in the right direction and work with them and shape them and train them so that they'll be ready when the property is ready? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller. Good observation. And Chris, of course, that's a sentiment that you expressed earlier as well. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning again, gentlemen. Just like to say quickly, with the news item, since I had a little extra time there, yes, that is deplorable, that what they're just focusing on Caymanians and any alleged or suspected, and that's terrible. And put on front page Mr. Watson's picture, Mr. Webb's picture every day, their whole personal life, what they had. And when you had big banks and scandalous things happen, as someone had mentioned earlier on, there's no focus on them. Their pictures being focused on, and the gentleman who robbed you of your fee and all that too, Mr. McField.
Yes.
Nothing on them at all.
Yes.
Nothing on that. Nothing. There was a lady who, I believe, she had, I don't know, misappropriated, must have been nearly $750 million in funds here. When her husband paid it back, she was never charged or anything like that.
You mentioned that earlier, Mr. McLean.
Yes.
Off air.
Oh, no, I didn't hear that.
No, he mentioned it off air. Off air. He did.
See, well, it happened.
Yeah.
And it was in the papers and things like that. And it is really just sensationalism. And at the end of it, you say, well, yes, they have not been charged. I think that's wrong. And some sort of integrity should be there in them. But as I say, people come here and they see they can take these advantages and they'll do it, and they'll step in hard, pressing, hard, ruthless, cold people. And that's what has happened. We see it with the health insurance industry. We see it with a lot of things. They can take advantage of a situation, and if our elected representatives don't stand up, particularly with the health insurance, and do something, we're in for an awful time. What Mr. Miller's words may not be so inaccurate, what he had said, and it may not. We really hope it doesn't come to that, but we don't know what can happen here, because the naivety is ending in our people. Thank you, gentlemen, for giving me a chance.
Certainly. Yes, sir. People are becoming more empowered because we're giving them the knowledge. We're letting them know what's happening behind closed doors. To answer Miss Georgette's question, I have received a message from Minister Borden, Minister Osborne Borden, Honorable Osborne Borden, and he said, "Good morning, bro. Both posts will be local. Promise you that," he says. And then he also says that point by Mr. Schmidt is being actioned as well, prepping staff on that one.
Excellent.
So that is excellent. Good to know. Callers? Any caller? No callers. Gentlemen, 10 minutes to 10. I have to give you an opportunity to have some final comments because you haven't had a whole lot of time to say much today, but that's what the show is all about, accommodating our listeners, empowering them, and giving them a chance to ventilate, to express their opinions, because at the end of the day, it is their opinion that count. And when they speak, they will speak at the ballot box.
Yep.
Chris?
Actually, I'm glad we had a lot of callers this morning, OC, and I think with what has happened at the last radio show, it goes to highlight the importance of this show, where people can understand that there is a medium in which they can express their thoughts, and not have a host such as yourself or guests such as Steve and myself that will pretty much worry about any commercial interest or anything else like that. I think it's also important for people to understand the politics of fear. And the reason why I say fear is that if you go back to, I don't want to get a little bit too technical, but Machiavelli, back in 1513 when he started his writing, he talked about basically have a choice of being either loved or being feared. And he always basically encouraged leaders that you should aim for fear, because people decide who they love, people don't decide who they fear. So it is the one emotion that people can't control, and as such, we should basically push towards that. But the good thing about it is that in every major election where fear has gone up against hope, hope has always won. And ultimately, it is one of the things that I think we as a people need to get over. People like to talk about our passive nature and our welcoming nature. That's one of the things that we need to fix. And for my closing this morning, I just want to share a poem that was written by Mariana Williamson. It was made popular when Mandela completed his journey from prisoner to president. And it goes, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, talented, gorgeous, or fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberate others. And I'm glad this morning, in terms of the show, the format of the show, the people who had a first time caller in David and so forth, more and more people are beginning to get over their fear. And it is when Caymanians becoming less fearful in terms of repercussions and everything else. And it is only then when we can stand together that this country can move forward. We need to, as Nikki and I like when Nikki called in, the preservation of dignity. We need to make sure that's there for our people. Someone dial 911, the police comes or the fire come, they don't feel like they're getting charged from the government. Why then should someone go to the hospital or social services and feel that way? Dignity is important in any country, and I will leave people with that.
Yep. And, you know, at the end of the day, we can give the people an opportunity to vent, to voice their concerns, either on the telephone and through the mic, or they may choose other options that may not be as palatable as the ones that we, you know, offer to them. Yeah. So some people will criticize the talk shows and say, oh, you know, same callers every morning and stuff and whatever. Give them an opportunity to talk, to speak, to vent their frustrations. Ms. Macfield.
OC, there's an old saying that we become what we fear. Over 180 years ago, Lord Sligo, an Englishman, governor of Jamaica, and his companion, Captain Peck, came here in the on the HMS Wasp, and they liberated us from the terrible physical abuse, one of the most terrible abuses of mankind in the world today, except for what happened to the Jews in Germany, in Auschwitz, and the camps and all that sort of stuff. Since that time, we have been progressing along, and we come today, and in 2009, the Englishman again gave us an instrument called the Caymanian Constitution, which I hope would have freed our minds now from the mental slavery that we have been in for so long, and yet we have not taken that and used it. What I want to see, the Minister for Community Affairs and Culture, I think Mr. Ozzy Borden, he's he text you and say that those jobs in those departments will be Caymanian? That's what he said?
Yes, sir.
I want to see that in legislation. I want to see that in the law, that the Constitution says that we have it, that we can do. And it's not discriminatory, because now Caymanian includes everybody who has Cayman status. And so anybody who don't have Caymanian status would not be entitled to those jobs.
And they're supported by Section 16, subsection 5 of the Constitution.
Constitution don't have a right to it. And I would just like to lead this. But what Caymanian needs is leadership. And I would like to leave you with bringing a quote from one of my greatest, one of the people I admire, who's now deceased, the great John Kenneth Galbraith. You know him. He was ambassador to India, and he was the economist to the regime, a great Canadian liberal economist. And this is what he says. He says, all of the great leaders have had one characteristic in common. It was the willingness to confront unequivocally the major anxiety of their people in their time. This, and not much else, is the essence of leadership. I would like to see that present in the Cayman Islands from now on. Great leadership, and to tackle the anxiety of our people in our times now.
Folks, I want to remind you that you've been listening to For the Record. I have been your host, Dorit Khan. I want to thank my two guests in the studio this morning for an exciting show. I want to say I hope you enjoy the show, but this show is not for entertainment purposes. This is to empower you. This is to enlighten you in the event that you need enlightenment, but it is to empower you with knowledge so that you can make the right decisions when decision time comes along. So I want to thank you for allowing us into your homes, into your places of work, into your vehicles as you traverse the roads of the Cayman Islands. I say to all of us, we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. I say to the government, to our legislators of the Cayman Islands, your brothers and sisters are Caymanians first and foremost. So you have to be the keepers of them first. So rather than my usual observations and my call for you to reach out a helping hand, I want you to reach out that helping hand to the Caymanians today and do as Mr. McField has said, put it in legislation. Legislate for Caymanians now while we are still alive and kicking. Otherwise, you will have to do like the United States and the Americans, what they did for the American Indians. You legislate for them after they become almost extinct. We do not want that to happen. The Premier will be making a statement at the Finance Committee in relation to the Caymanian Compasses editorial. I say to you, have a great day. Join Sterling Green Ebanks. We're way over time. I can't say all the things, but I just say to you, God bless, stay safe, have a great day.